Good, happy Monday morning. Is Monday, August 12th, 2024. I'm Riley King, and welcome to Riley's Kingdom of News right here on WRMK News Radio. We got a jam-packed broadcast to get to this Monday morning, so let's get started right now. First up, Vice President Kamala Harris claims U.S. has record energy production and is energy independent. Let's take a listen to that report from WMUR News 9.
I am proud to have Tim Waltz as my running mate, and today I'm asking you to please pitch in $5.
Energy is top of mind for many Americans as we get closer to Election Day, so it's no surprise that Vice President Kamala Harris is touting the Biden administration's work, claiming that America has record energy production. Our partners at PolitiFact say Harris's claim is mostly true.
Overall, U.S. energy production is at a record high. As for being energy independent, that's a little bit more complicated. By some definitions, that is correct. Such as exporting more energy than we import.
But PolitiFact says in one important way, Harris's claim is wrong.
When it comes to crude oil, which is the source of gasoline, the U.S. still imports more than it exports. It's for a very technical reason. Basically, the refineries in the U.S. can't handle all the crude oil that we produce here because of the type of crude oil it is, and they were designed to refine foreign oil.
PolitiFact adds that the U.S. and our economy are still tied to developments overseas affecting oil.
In that sense, we're not fully independent. On balance, we give this a mostly true.
And you can find a full list of all of our fact checks of the presidential candidates on our website. That's WMUR.com.
Okay, and there you go on that report. We want to hear from you. Head over to RK Network 1995 at gmail.com and weigh in on this. We want to hear from you guys as well. Let us know what your thoughts on this is. (2024) DNC. Obama, Biden, and the Clintons are expected to speak. Let's take a listen to that report from NBC News.
Going to get now more on the state of the race. NBC senior Washington correspondent Hallie Jackson is here. Hallie, good morning. So they finished off the battleground tour, the first rollout of Harris Walz. Give us the state of the race on the Democratic side, then we'll talk about former President Trump's campaign.
Sure. On the Democratic side, Savannah, the Harris-Walz team is feeling like they have some wind at their back, some momentum here moving forward for a couple of reasons here. It's that new battleground polling that we talked about here, showing that she is inching ahead within the margin of error in some of these key swing states. And when you look at independents, those numbers are interesting too. There's some good news in there for Democrats, showing that Vice President Harris is doing better than President Biden with independents in some of those critical swing states. You've also got the money factor. The Harris camp has raked in tens of millions of dollars in a relatively short period of time. And then look ahead at what's happening a week from today. The Democratic National Convention begins in Chicago, and that is a week of primetime coverage for the Democrats. We're learning more about who some of the headliners will be. Two sources familiar with the planning tell us that former President Obama will speak, along with former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, and President Biden will be one of the headliners as well, in what seems like a nod to his leadership after he withdrew from the 2024 race. In a new interview just recently, Savannah, his first since he decided to step off the 2024 ticket, he says he did so partly so as not to be a distraction for Dems.
Let's talk about the Trump campaign still adjusting, it seems, to this new race and this new candidate they're facing at the top of the ticket.
Yeah, there's a sense from senior advisors that this is a so-called Harris honeymoon that may not last all that long. They see the fundamentals of the race as still being fairly consistent here, and that is a real focus on two big issues, the issues that we've been talking about for months now that voters care about, the economy and immigration. On both of those issues, battleground polls show that former President Trump actually polls better than Vice President Harris on that. So there is a desire, I think, from those I've talked to in the Trump orbit for the former president to focus on that, to focus on policy. What we've seen from him, though, over the course of the last week, several weeks, if not longer, has been a focus on nearly anything but. He's been litigating this issue of crowd sizes, making false claims on that front, suggesting that President Biden may try to, with no evidence, reclaim the nomination at the DNC. There's nothing that would support that happening here. Of course, Vice President Harris is looking to combat on both of those issues, going on offense on both the economy and immigration. Savannah.
All right, Hallie, much to discuss. Thank you very much.
Hey.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Harris and Trump bicker over crowd size and heated race. Let's take a listen to that report from NBC News.
Democratic National Convention now just 1 week away. Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz wrapping up a week-long battleground blitz, rallying a fired-up crowd of 12,000 supporters in Las Vegas Saturday.
We know this will be a tight race until the very end. And so let's not pay too much attention to the polls.
Both online and at rallies, former President Donald Trump has repeatedly accused Harris of lying about the size of her crowds.
They said, oh, she had a big crowd, oh, the crowd.
The Harris campaign poking back on social media with a photo of one large crowd writing, Trump has still not campaigned in a swing state in over a week. Low energy? The former president also pushing a baseless conspiracy theory about President Biden.
I hear he's going to make a comeback at the Democrat convention. He's going to walk into the room and he's going to say, I want my presidency back.
New polling now shows Harris leading Trump among likely voters in 3 key swing states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, all within the margin of error. Over the weekend, the Trump campaign said it was hacked by an Iranian group in June, and the documents were, quote, obtained illegally from foreign sources. The statement came after Politico said it was sent Trump campaign documents from an anonymous email account. NBC News has not independently verified the hack. Meanwhile, Vance is trying to walk back Mr. Trump's recent comments on abortion, suggesting he's open to banning access to a commonly used abortion pill.
Would you direct your FDA, for example, to revoke access to mifepristone? That's one of the things that's been discussed.
You could do things that will be would supplement, absolutely, and those things are pretty open and humane.
Vance says the former president believes that decision should be left up to the states.
You, of course, want to make sure that any medicine is safe, that it's prescribed in the right way, and so forth. But the president wants individual states to make these decisions.
Now, Trump is also accusing the vice president of stealing one of his new policy proposals after she endorsed eliminating the federal tax on tips this weekend. It's a potent issue, especially in battleground Nevada. Trump had backed the same policy 2 months ago, a rare moment of agreement between two campaigns who agree on almost nothing else. Savannah?
All right, Garrett, thank you.
Okay, there you go on that report. We want to hear your thoughts on that. Email us right now at rknetwork1995@gmail.com. That is rknetwork1995@gmail.com. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Riley's Kingdom of News right here on WRMK News Radio. Exclusive interview. Biden talks about why he left the 2024 presidential race. Let's take a listen to that report.
CBS Sunday Morning's exclusive conversation with President Joe Biden, who sat down with our friend Robert Costa for his very first interview since exiting the 2024 race 3 weeks ago. Biden talked about what prompted him to make that historic decision.
The polls we had showed that it was a neck-and-neck race, would have been down to the wire. But what happened was a number of my Democratic colleagues in the House and Senate thought that I was going to hurt them in the races. And I was concerned if I stayed in the race, that would be the topic. You'd be interviewing me about why did Nancy Pelosi say, why did someone, and I thought it'd be a real distraction.
And Bob Costa joins us now for more on that conversation. Bob, I love the way you opened it up by asking the president to tell you the story of his decision. We heard a part of it there. Was there more to that story that you learned?
There was a lot more to this story. You had President Biden with his family just a few weeks ago in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, his retreat, his place he goes to escape Washington. And it was a political decision, as he just detailed. It was also a personal one. In our conversation for Sunday Morning, he talked about his family being in the Oval Office. He talked about his late son, Beau. And this is someone who, when he makes decisions, clearly forges the personal with the political until he makes a final conclusion.
You know, the president talked about the threat to democracy that he sees in Donald Trump, but a lot of voters don't vote on democracy, they vote on the economy, and there's going to be a joint appearance, we hear, between President Biden and candidate Harris talking about economic policy. That'll be an appearance, their first together. What's the role that you're hearing Joe Biden's going to play in the campaign of now Kamala Harris for president?
He told me he is going to be out there on the campaign trail. He will be in Pennsylvania. Let's remember, President Biden born in Scranton, Pennsylvania, even though he was a longtime senator from Delaware. And he's going to go to that battleground state. He told CBS News he's working with Governor Josh Shapiro, who almost landed on the Democratic ticket, to come up with a Pennsylvania tour to try to really convince those voters to not go toward former President Donald Trump, who he still sees very much as a threat to American democracy, whether he wins or even if he loses and does not concede like he did not concede in the 2020 election. But he's also going to be focused on foreign policy and domestic policy, he told me, in these final 5 or 6 months of his presidency.
All right, Bob, thank you very much.
Okay, and there you go on that report. Now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up in the green. NASDAQ is up in the green as well. S&P 500 up in the green as well. Gold up in the green as well. Oil up in the green as well. U.S. 10-year is unch. And Euro/USD up in the green. And VIX up in the green as well. And that does it for this edition of Riley's Kingdom of News right here on WRMK News Radio. Thank you for tuning in and listening. And have a fantastic Monday. See you back here tomorrow. Bye.